The bombing of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945 marked a devastating moment in history as the first use of an atomic weapon in warfare. In the decades since, numerous disturbing discoveries have been made regarding the long-term effects of the bombing on human health and the environment. These findings have not only deepened our understanding of nuclear fallout, but have also underscored the profound consequences of nuclear warfare. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we are talking about the health effects. Right after the bombing, many suffered from acute radiation sickness. They experienced horrific symptoms like severe burns, hair falling out in clumps, relentless vomiting, and bleeding gums. But the nightmare didn't stop there. In the years that followed, there was a shocking spike in leukemia and other cancers among them. Studies uncovered that the intense radiation had wreaked havoc on their DNA, leading to genetic mutations. These weren't just personal afflictions, some of these mutations were passed down to their children and even grandchildren, resulting in birth defects and hereditary conditions that rippled through generations. On top of all of this, the psychological trauma was immense. Survivors grappled with PTSD, haunted by flashbacks of the blinding light, the deafening explosion, and the harrowing scenes of destruction and loss. Depression and anxiety became common shadows in their lives. It is just extremely chilling to think how a single moment on that fateful day unleashed a cascade of physical and emotional suffering that would echo through the decades. In our number 9 spot today, we are talking about black rain. Just when the survivors of Hiroshima thought the nightmare couldn't get any worse, the sky unleashed a haunting black rain. This wasn't just any ordinary rainfall, it was a toxic brew of radioactive soot and ash from the atomic explosion. People who had escaped the initial blast found themselves drenched in this ominous downpour, unknowingly inhaling and ingesting radioactive particles. The black rain didn't just poison those in the immediate vicinity, it spread contamination far beyond the blast zone, reaching areas that thought they were safe. Countless people developed radiation sickness, mysterious illnesses surfaced, and the haunting effects lingered for generations. It is very eerie to think that something as natural and life-giving as rain could become a silent messenger of widespread devastation. In our number 8 spot today, we are talking about the deformed plants. After the bombing of Hiroshima, the devastation wasn't limited to buildings and human lives. The very fabric of nature seemed to unravel in disturbing ways. Imagine strolling through fields where sunflowers didn't just grow, they loomed monstrously oversized with stems that split and forked unpredictably. Their leaves were twisted and deformed, resembling something out of a surreal nightmare. Morning glories, usually delicate and beautiful, bloomed with petals so misshapen that they were almost unrecognizable. Scientists were completely baffled by these mutations, plants exhibiting abnormal growth patterns, gigantism, and bizarre deformities. The intense radiation had infiltrated the soil, scrambling the DNA of flora and leading to these unsettling changes. It was as if nature itself was protesting, displaying the invisible scars of nuclear fallout in an extremely haunting way. In our number 7 spot today, we are talking about the mutated animals. One of the most unsettling discoveries in Hiroshima after the bombing was the bizarre mutations seen in the local wildlife. Picture rabbits born without ears, birds with twisted beaks or missing feet, and butterflies sporting oddly shaped wings or unusual color patterns. Many insects, birds, and small mammals exhibited physical abnormalities like malformed limbs and albinism. The radiation definitely didn't discriminate, it seeped into every corner of the environment, altering the DNA of creatures great and small. Even their reproductive systems were affected, leading to dwindling animal populations as they struggled to produce healthy offspring. It's chilling to think about how the silent forests and fields around Hiroshima became a living laboratory of genetic mutations, all stemming from that single devastating blast. Who would have thought thought that the ripple effects of human conflict could reach so deeply into the natural world. In our number 6 spot today, we are talking about the radioactive isotopes. One of the most disturbing aftershocks of the bombing was how radioactive isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90 stealthily crept into the food chain. Plants absorbed these radioactive particles from the contaminated soil, turning everyday crops into dangerous carriers of radiation. Herbivores like cows and rabbits ate these plants, unknowingly accumulating toxins in their bodies. Predators and even humans then consumed these animals, further concentrating the radiation. Imagine families sitting down to what they thought was a wholesome meal, not realizing each bite was a dose of invisible poison. The bioaccumulation led to long-term ecological chaos and serious health issues, including cancers and genetic mutations, affecting not just one generation, but many to come. It's very chilling to think that the very food meant to nourish communities became a threat, weaving radiation into the fabric of life itself. In our number 5 spot today, we have the loss of biodiversity. One of the most haunting aftermaths of the bombing was the eerie disappearance of entire species from the area. Sensitive animals and plants that couldn't withstand the radiation and environmental upheaval simply vanished. Imagine wandering through what was once a vibrant ecosystem only to find it eerily silent. No chirping birds, no rustling insects, just a void where life used to thrive. Predators lost their prey, plants lost their pollinators, and the intricate web of life began to unravel. The radiation didn't just harm individual creatures, it disrupted the harmony of nature itself. It's chilling to consider how one single event could erase so much natural diversity in the blink of an eye. What wonders and secrets of the natural world were lost forever in that instant? In our number 4 spot today, we are talking about the glass and metal fusion. One of the most surreal discoveries in Hiroshima was how the extreme heat from the blast melted glass and metal objects, fusing them into twisted, otherworldly shapes. Imagine a ceramic bottle warped and melded into a metal fence, or window panes liquefied and draped over charred remnants of furniture. The temperatures soared so high, over 3,000 degrees Celsius, near the epicenter, that solid materials behaved like molten lava. These fused artifacts weren't just random debris, they became haunting symbols of the sheer destructive power unleashed that day. Scientists have studied these distorted objects to understand the incredible temperatures reached during the explosion and how such intense heat affected everything in its path. It is very eerie to think that everyday items like coins, bottles, and even bicycles were instantaneously transformed into grotesque sculptures of devastation. In our number 3 spot today, we are talking about the shadows. Perhaps the most haunting remnants left behind were the eerie nuclear shadows etched onto surfaces throughout the city. When the bomb detonated, the intense flash of heat and light bleached everything it touched, except where objects or people blocked the rays. This resulted in ghostly outlines of humans and objects permanently imprinted on walls, steps, and sidewalks. Imagine seeing the silhouette of a person sitting on a staircase, their form forever captured in a moment of daily life turned tragic. These shadows are stark reminders of the individuals who were vaporized in an instant, leaving only their imprints behind. They provide a very visceral connection to the exact moment of the blast, showcasing the devastating immediacy of the explosion's impact. It is both fascinating and deeply unsettling to stand before these imprints, knowing that they mark the final moments of lives abruptly ended. In our number 2 spot today, we have the unidentified victims. During the massive reconstruction of Hiroshima, workers often stumbled upon human remains hidden beneath layers of rubble and ash. Many of these remains were unidentifiable, their identities erased by the intense heat and destruction. Imagine uncovering a skeleton clutching a melted trinket, or fragments of bones mingled with debris, each one silently testifying to a life once lived. These discoveries were haunting, but also deeply significant. For some families, they provided a semblance of closure after years of uncertainty about the fate of their loved ones. From a historical perspective, these findings enriched our understanding of the tragedy's human toll. Perhaps even more heart-wrenching were the personal belongings found alongside the remains, intimate glimpses into the lives frozen in time. Watches stopped precisely at 8:15 a.m., the exact moment the bomb detonated, their hands forever marking the instant where everything changed. Scorched clothing fragments, like a shoe or a tattered school uniform, told stories of innocence lost. Other items, a pair of glasses twisted by heat, a lunchbox charred yet still holding a meal prepared that morning, became poignant symbols of everyday routines abruptly shattered. These artifacts transformed into powerful reminders of the individual lives behind the staggering statistics. It is fascinating and deeply moving to hold these objects, realizing that they were once a part of someone's daily life, now serving as silent witness to a moment of unimaginable horror. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye!
You did it, you got it in